See some good stuff. Hi, everybody. We are just getting set up for our first live session. We are very unsure about how to use YouTube Live at this session, whether or not anything that we're doing is actually working. But it's a great learning by doing experience, and I am a massive fan of learning by doing. So just bear with us, and we are just getting set up.
Okay. We're going to be working on Facebook. It's okay because we still wanted to start on our YouTube channel and Instagram. We can do that later. That's fine. I will join you in a second.
So we're trying to set up a few streams here. We're trying to set up the YouTube live stream, one on our Instagram page and also on our Facebook page as well. But we've been having an issue with a couple of those. So the Instagram stream isn't running on our TESOL with Micky and Ide account, but it is running on Ide's one where you can join us there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give up on that. And that's okay. Hello.
Hey, so I think these are working.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
Ooh. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first sofa seminar, where we're gonna sit chill on a sofa, which you sometimes actually they don't see it on the recordings.
No, you don't see it in the recordings. So yeah, we're in the same space, but I guess the sofa's in a slightly different position. So basically, when I film anyway, I film from my living room. So we're in my living room right now. I film at the window because the window has really, really good light. Which is an issue when you're filming in Scotland. It can be kind of difficult to get the light
100%.
that you want. So, for instance, we were going to do this recording a bit later because normally on Friday we've been releasing videos around 4:00, but actually in winter in Scotland it's dark at 4:00, so it's not possible to really do it then. So this is why we're doing it a little bit earlier than we had thought we would have.
A lot for us to learn, really. This is absolutely a big learning process for us.
Yeah. Like I said, actually, when I came in there, I'm a big fan of learning by doing, and this is absolutely learning by doing. The process of the last few weeks of us setting up this channel and trying to get going with it has been a big process in learning by doing, but it's also been great as well.
Okay. We are live now, and I need to change the camera. Hello, everybody. Anyone on Instagram? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, we were just talking on our YouTube live. I don't know which camera to look at.
This is YouTube live.
YouTube camera, Instagram camera, and we were just saying that we're just learning ourselves by doing. How to obviously set up a live. We were trying to stream it through different platforms. We have Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Not sure about the Facebook one, so we're going to just leave that for now. But I think we are live on Instagram.
Yeah.
We are having people joining us. I think actually, let's wave.
Oh, I can see. Is that Tao is joining?
It is Tao. Hello, Tao.
Hey, Tao.
Hi. Now that you're there, Tao, is it sound clear? Just doing a bit of test with you.
Testing. Yeah, great. Yeah.
um,
Okay. Do you have to
okay.
hold it like that the whole time?
That's what I was just thinking. Might be able to just lean it on something if it is strong enough. Because the thing with Insta Live is that I'd like hello Tao. I'd like to be able to comment. You can say hello on if you're joining us on YouTube. Do feel free to leave any comment. Just say hello.
Yeah.
Or if there's anything wrong with the technical side of what we're doing, if you can't hear us well or see us okay, just let us know in the comments.
Yeah. Some feedback like that would be really helpful for us because we're not quite sure how all of this works. Well, I'm not anyway. I'm really new to doing this kind of thing. So any feedback like that for us would be super helpful.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're planning on doing like a 30-minute kind of session.
Yeah.
These sessions we're going to call like sofa seminar sessions. So we are going to use these sessions to talk about some of the stuff that we have talked about in our latest videos. But in this session, because it's the first one, we're also going to just talk about like ourselves a little bit, about why we're doing this channel, like what we're bringing, like the reasons behind it, our drivers. These things as well. So if you've got like any questions or you want to ask anything, then please do.
Thanks, Al.
Please do let us know. Okay, so Ide, first of all, then why don't I ask you, what was the main driver for you with this this channel?
Right, thanks very much for asking me. Oh, so, gosh, where to start? A while ago, like a few years back, I remember when I just started doing my PhD at Warwick Uni. I had a wee ELT channel. Now, it was called EL2P, and actually my Instagram account is still, the name is still the same as the channel that I had. And I was creating free English language materials, particularly for learners. It was the starting point was like having language learners in mind. I come from that background myself. I have in the past, for years I taught English in different contexts. So I thought, social media, a free platform, we're not creating stuff like that. So and then through that I got to know a lot of wonderful language teachers across the world. Iran, obviously, a lot of my followers came from Iran, Brazil, China, so lots of different, Russia, I remember at some point. So and then they were like, oh, given that you are studying TESOL and you've had a lot of teacher training experience and etc., why don't you actually create content for language teachers? And I thought that's a great idea. So it kind of, I redirected the page towards that. And then there was a period of pause when I was in the heart of my PhD, as you can imagine. And if there is anybody here who has done or is doing a PhD, you know that sometimes you need to put everything on hold and just focus on that.
Yeah, it's a really like stressful time, isn't it? It's really like intense time doing that kind of work. Yeah.
And at the time, I must confess, I had people in my life who were not incredibly encouraging with the stuff that I had in mind. And then I was quite discouraged that, why are you wasting your time and you're just creating some free content and so what? And then you focus on your PhD, which there was a point there. I think it was important to focus on my PhD at the time. But I think, I always wanted to kind of be a member of community that is beyond my reach, not just the immediate community that I know.
Yeah, I think that's quite an important thing to think about. Definitely from like the university experience. We both have worked in those sectors for a long time. That there's the whole ivory tower aspect of it, which is very exclusionary. And there's a lot of barriers to learning about something like TESOL, so teaching English to speakers of other languages. That could be like the financial one, the not being able to travel to go
100%,
to the feeling like you don't belong at the university, which is ridiculous.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. That is something that I realized more and more when I was actually talking to these teachers from all these different countries that I was so lucky to get connected to through my wee channel. And I feel like that's unfair. Even working as an academic myself, I always feel like like you said, unfortunately it's quite exclusive at times, and I feel like knowledge should be accessible, knowledge should be freely available to everyone.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
that shouldn't become like, that should be like some sort of a free capital, if it makes sense. You know, so, and then obviously I was doing my PhD, and then, you know, with early career researcher, kind of all the stress around that. And then obviously when I was, you know, started working as an academic myself, I realized, oh my God, there's this huge world of academic literacy as well, which is like a mystery, a myth. For those students who are thinking of, you know, completing a degree. Now, in our case, in an English-speaking context, and I felt like, and I looked at, you know, stuff on social media, and, you know, working at university myself, working with language testing companies, designing language tests myself for those companies, and kind of seeing this huge gap between what the reality is that we're dealing with here in an academic context and what really is sold. And I'd like to really use that word, is sold to those, you know, test takers who are going through a lot of hurdle. I mean, I can talk about that, and we can have an entire session just talking about the massive hurdle that students, particularly international students, but even our home students as well, in a different way, they have to go through. And a lot of it is just a myth, a misconception, and a misunderstanding of who we are, how we communicate, why we communicate the way we do. So all of these.
So it was like a myth busting for you, trying to bust a myth.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like responsible.
Yeah,
you know?
it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because it's kind of similar to me as well. And for me, it's also about that idea of access and trying to get like high quality advanced learning to people for free. And also that, I think you kind of touched on it, that idea that like connecting theory and practice together, because theory can seem really kind of difficult, but actually it shouldn't be difficult. Theory should be easy.
Absolutely.
It should be like something accessible and something that was usable. So for me, it was important to try and think about something along that lines as well, to try and to make something complex accessible to others. So I think actually we have a kind of similar approach.
And before I note on that, because like, definitely we share some similar approaches in that. Hello to everybody who's joining us on Instagram, and we're live on our YouTube channel as well, if you'd like to join us there. So we're just really starting our live by talking about, you know, what was the incentive for us, what made us think of creating the channel. So we're just giving a bit of background on that. And I think I'm so glad that one day, Micky and I obviously work together at uni, and we share an office. And one day, I think you brought that up. We were talking about, you know, kind of the availability of knowledge and how accessible it is, and, you know, kind of ideas that we have that we want to share. At a time, we just started working on a book proposal, which we are now working on academic literacies. And then we were thinking, we can actually take this beyond, you know, the academic context, and create stuff for free for people outside university, or those who are at uni, but, you know, just some free, good quality, really, content coming from us, the aliens sometimes, you know, academics. Like, we wanted to kind of directly connect with students, with our colleagues as well, and create such content ourselves, you know. So I think that kind of, I'm so glad that we had that conversation, because we felt like we had that kind of shared vision.
Of course. For sure. And we have slightly different backgrounds, which kind of come together as well. So your PhD was in linguistics, my applied linguistics, mine was in education. So I'm really interested in sort of like the methodology parts and the actual practice of how we teach English language, and how we teach it in a really modern way, and how we get away from these like stereotypes and standards, and, you know, telling people how to pronounce things, which is just really annoys me.
We're definitely going to have a series on that.
There's a lot of stuff that we want to talk about there as well, but how we teach this language now, which is international, how we teach it in an equitable way. So there's a lot I want to talk about with that in the future.
Absolutely. I think we're lucky in a sense that we work in a very diverse environment. So that's something that we experience on a day-to-day basis, whether it is among our colleagues or with our students. but also I think you and I particularly, we come from we bring that diversity, you know. We'll talk more about ourselves and our background, and I think that also contributes to this kind of, you know, the formation of this vision in us. To kind of feel like, as you said, yeah, there's a lot we want to talk about, you know, the linguistic side of it, like I said, the educational side of it.
Yeah. Let's also talk a little bit then about what we've learned in this process so far. So from making the videos that we've made. So we made some videos about, I did some on Vygotsky, and I kind of started with some stuff about Vygotsky because I felt comfortable talking about that, but I think it also provides a nice basis for learning. We talked about methods, we've talked about moving away from language testing ways of like writing and moving into real academic writing. So in the process of making those, what do you think that you learned yourself? That's a very open question. You can interpret it as you like.
I know, right? Because like on the one hand, I'm thinking about the actual content, and I talk about that a lot, but I'm also thinking about creating that content.
The practicalities. Let's think about the creating part. What have you learned about the creating part?
Oh dear. So we learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, despite the fact that I am not unfamiliar with camera. I'm not unfamiliar with presenting in front of an audience because I do amateur acting, so I'm quite comfortable with being on stage. But actually, I realize it's totally different when you create content for, you know, online materials and for social media, particularly. So I learned a lot in that respect. I think one thing quite different in you know, in creating online material that I noticed is that a lot of it is spontaneous and a lot of it is unscripted, which is unlike acting. And I kept catching myself initially correcting again, you know, kind of going into that using English as a second language kind of mindset of, oh, am I making any mistakes, or everything needs to be perfect. Otherwise, you know, I come from a background and I know there are contexts in which you either speak perfect, and I'm afraid to say standard English, which we will talk more about, or whatever it is that you're saying is not credible or is not valid, and which is very sad, you know. So I realized that I'm still, after years and years of thinking that I have moved away from that mindset, I kind of caught myself, you know.
No, it's understandable, and because these things are ultimately about beliefs, aren't they? They're beliefs, and there's core beliefs, and you want to be taken seriously.
Absolutely.
And it's the same for me. I come from a working class background. Like, no one went to uni apart from me. I never thought I would do a PhD, and I used to feel it's like a kind of imposter syndrome, isn't it? Absolutely. And I felt that a lot about the way that I spoke from a very different place.
Yes, right.
But as a native speaker, as a supposed native speaker, who's sometimes not the native speaker that people are looking for, in my experience as well. But it's kind of multifaceted, that, and I completely understand what you're saying about that. And I think actually the channel is an opportunity for us also to work on that with our viewers as well, to work on. It's like a confidence. It's being confident in yourself, being confident who you are, and being confident that you are allowed to speak.
100%.
You know a lot. You're allowed to share that with others.
No matter how you use the language that you're using as the, you know, medium of communication, it's just a tool. And so it was quite eye-opening for me to see that deep down in my psyche and in my subconscious, as you say, it's like the deep-rooted belief. It is still there. And I remember we had some conversations, and you were like, oh, just relax and it's okay. And I'm like, I'm the one with the acting background, and he's telling me to relax. I mean, no, but I really got what you meant. And you said, look, when we talk together, it's just so, you know, you're relaxed and you don't really overthink things. But anyway, so that's something that was a learning curve.
There's something about the camera being turned on as well that you feel quite different.
I suppose that's quite universal, isn't it?
So there's a lot of things going on in there.
So that was one thing that I learned. But I want to pass on the question to you, let you answer the question yourself as well, before I move on to the next thing
about what did I learn?
About creating content.
I realized that YouTube's actually quite complicated. There's a whole ton of stuff that you have to learn.
To watch.
oh my
difficult
God,
to
it's like
work with.
actually quite a lot of stuff to do. But it's also a learning curve and you get a lot better at it.
Yeah.
I learned as well to relax on camera and try
Mm.
and be myself and try to speak. And I'm still working on that all the time.
Yeah.
It's not news reading. It is trying to communicate with one other person on the other side of the camera, and that's
Yeah.
something which I'm continually trying to work on, to think about talking through the camera,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
can really engage with the person on the other side. And actually, this kind of live session is way easier for doing that rather than a scripted kind of
Oh,
talking head
100%,
one
yeah.
of what we've done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's definitely one thing I learned about
Yeah.
that. Well, we talk, so we've done 20 minutes so far. We're going to do half an hour. Will we talk a little bit about some of the content?
Yeah,
you wanna
let's
talk
do
about
that actually. Yeah, that would be nice.
What aspect of the content would you like to talk about?
Because so if you are, I don't know whether you're familiar with our channel or you've just joined, but I'm just going to give a bit of a background so that everybody knows. Right now, obviously, our channel, TESOL with Micky and Ide, the main focus really is on TESOL. We are unpacking theories on TESOL in our field, and then we talk about the practical side of it as well. How can we apply theory to practice? But we also noticed throughout years of working with TESOL students and obviously seeing our colleagues working with students in other subjects, that academic communication is also, I don't want to call it an issue, but it's really an area that a lot of our students need more training
development.
For. Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that side of our channel, which you can see there is one series on academic communication in which I compared IELTS type of communication with what I call real academic communication. I intentionally called it real academic communication because unfortunately, a lot of what students do pre-university as they get ready to come and study in an English-speaking context to prepare for the IELTS test won't work when it comes to writing academically, when it comes to speaking academically. So I really try to kind of talk about the differences from a point of view of someone who's been in who has experienced all of these as a student myself, as an academic, as a test designer, examiner. So I kind of try to bring all this together and break this myth. It's really oh, hey Jay, hi. That's like you can see a family member as well. It's always exciting. So I kind of I really like that first season. I felt like it's so important. I looked a lot on social media to see what content exists, and I see there's a lot of focus on, for example, IELTS, and I can see it's a huge business, if I may call it.
Oh, it is a huge business. It's an absolutely massive business. Yeah. And that's something we need to think about.
Yeah, and I appreciate the work of my colleagues, actually, in those companies. Like I said, I have worked with them myself. But at the same time, there's a lot to say about them that is not said. And I felt like I really need to do that because I know it. So anyway, so yes, the first series talks about the differences between communication in these two different contexts. And I kind of tried to unpack 7 key differences, which Micky and I actually together brainstormed, just reflecting on our own experience as academics, what we really see our students sometimes struggle with in communication. And so that was the first series.
I think for me with the content that I started with, the stuff which I've noticed, and this is something which I learned about shorts in YouTube, is that some shorts just totally take off and others completely bomb. And it's kind of, I was trying to work out we were looking at them trying to work out what was popular and what was not. And some of that stuff was popular about the inner voice. So that idea from Vygotsky that we have the external dialogue and the internal dialogue. And that seemed to be quite popular, but it also is something which is really interesting and has a kind of broader appeal, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot of
and how you hear kids talking to themselves, but actually through that cultural interaction with their environment, they begin to internalize that voice,
100%,
and how that voice comes out as an adult when we're stressed or worried, or you're just trying to understand something, but how that can also be used in the classroom to help your students students. So you can actually train your students to speak out loud and then to whisper and then to try and internalize it. So I thought that was interesting how that was popular. But maybe it's just like an interesting concept in general.
I think it is an interesting concept in general. And what I really liked about the Vygotsky series that you did is that while obviously our focus is on TESOL and we link that a lot to language education, it's so applicable to lots of other areas in our lives. I was in fact having conversations with some of our followers, and some of them I know, and they were like, they're not necessarily in TESOL, but they're educators, so they kind of teach other subjects, and they were saying how they can see the relevance in their own field. And in general, like what we really are trying to do in our series is that we are trying to kind of, because a lot of these kind of concepts and theories, particularly in TESOL, language education, initially were, from other fields, a lot from psychology. And then we are trying to kind of show the reason behind why we're doing what we're doing in the classroom. We learn a lot about methods and approaches in our field. We could do this and that, do scaffolding, for example, which is something that you talk about in your series on Vygotsky. But why? And I think by unpacking the theoretical side of it, we kind of
it's important to try and understand when we're teaching in the classroom, we're trying to learn anything in our lives about how that learning happens and how to support other people as well. And I think there's a lot to be taken from those basic Vygotskian kind of concepts like the zone of proximal development, about the difference between like what you can do or what your student can do independently and what they can do with help. And that can help us to determine what help we're giving them. That's actually something we need to talk about in terms of artificial intelligence or like AI as well, about when is AI helping and then when is AI doing all the work. So if AI is helping the student or helping you, then you're in the zone of proximal development. So you can't do it by yourself, but with some assistance you can do it. But when is AI actually just doing all the work for you, and that is outside the zone of proximal development. So I actually think that theory from Vygotsky, which is like 100 years old, is really relevant today when we think about how we take on AI in the classroom, how we utilize AI in the classroom to help our students. So I think something that we need to maybe touch upon in the future as well.
A title for a series already.
Yes,
it's series. I mean, we on that note, we have actually tried to be open with our students, PhD students and master students. We know that they use AI, and why not? It's becoming our new norm. So we are really trying to be open to that and understand it, but also by understanding it, trying to kind of see the limitations as well. And like I said, using Vygotsky's model to see where it helps and where it goes beyond that, and just to make our students aware of that. So definitely something that we need to talk more about.
So if you haven't seen our Vygotsky series, we have a playlist with about 6 episodes. I think you can find it on our YouTube channel. You should go to that and check it out.
But we would also, I don't know how much time we have left.
We've got 2 minutes.
2 minutes, gosh. But there was a bit of a hiccup at the start, so we were thinking of having a 30-minute session, but we'll see how it goes. But we would love to hear from our followers and see what it is that you think we could cover, based on your interest, areas that you feel like you want to learn more about. You think that we can share with you. We'd love to hear about you as well. Whether you want to comment here, whichever platform you're joining us. Or later on, we are so keen and curious to know, what our followers really would like us to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think at the moment as well, we just share with the guys that like we're trying to lay the foundations of what could be a course coming in the future. So we're kind of thinking about the kind of like fundamentals, of learning, fundamentals of how you teach, and laying that kind of groundwork at the moment. But then after that, and I guess hopefully quite soon, we really want to get into some more juicy issues around TESOL, which are probably more like not, is opinionated the right word, or can evoke opinion or beliefs, or we've touched on it today a little bit around like the idea of like the supposed native speaker or native speakerism accent how you're allowed to talk,
Correct.
who's allowed to talk,
Standard English.
this standard, or I think we should call it generic English
Yeah,
rather than
yeah.
personally I think we should call it
know,
generic
that
rather
sounds
than
quite meaningless,
standard.
yeah.
But yes, it's called standard everywhere else, isn't it? But
Yeah.
these kind of issues, I think even when you touch upon it, even the AI stuff as well, when you touch upon it, it is actually very, very, very interesting. So we're going to try and get into some of that.
Absolutely.
In the future.
I know that we are almost getting close to the end of our live, but I'd like to bring us back to where we started. Particularly, I'm quite biased because of one of the followers here. I really want to thank him for wonderful advice that he gave us, Jay, as my wee brother.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to say, because we started our conversation with what is our reflection on our experience and journey so far of creating, creating online content and having a YouTube channel. And we were just sharing, at the beginning what we learned. And one other thing that I really feel like I learned is just to be open and to share and ask. And, we received wonderful pieces of advice from people that we talked to, and we really tried to take them on board. One of which, and I think you and I definitely need to talk about, is that kind of perfectionist mindset.
Yeah.
We both are academics. We work in academia. It's already, sadly, I think there is this mindset of being perfect and constant competition. So sometimes you kind of don't realize that you kind of start actually leading a life with such mindset. So that's something that we realized at the beginning, that we were like really such both two perfections, coming together. And we realized that if we just carry on doing it that way, we may never be able to actually have a channel and have any videos or anything. So that's something, a big lesson we learned. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Jay, for telling us.
These live sessions are actually really helpful with that, because I'm looking at these live sessions. Well, we've got the Instagram one and we've got the YouTube one as well, and just how imperfect the whole setup is, and the camera's not what we thought it was. I was like, oh my God, it looks awful.
We definitely learned a lot today. Like, we were both stressed, and despite the fact that we did all the planning in advance,
none of it worked. I mean, what are these? I've got these Russian doll snowmen. It was Merry Christmas. That was supposed to.
I know they were meant to be actually in the actual frame, but they're not. So, but hey ho. That we are human, right? And no matter what we do, I think at the end of the day, we need just to be a bit realistic and kind to ourselves. And so apologies for all the imperfections, but we really try to be as authentic and genuine as possible, because I think that's the best way to connect to people.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess that just the final thing is that this is a new channel. We're trying to build it. We're trying to really do something special with this channel. We're trying to create a community of people who are interested in teaching English to speakers of other languages, but who are also interested in education and learning and these things. So please try to support the channel by telling someone else about it, by sharing, by watching our content, liking, giving us some comments. These things are really important because they kind of drive the algorithm as well. So that can help the algorithm to kind of spread the word on YouTube. So anything that you can do to help us like that, we would really appreciate it, because this is, I think this could be really good if we can make it work.
Yeah, we're really trying to create that community, and I think, like I said in one of my videos, it's just like a colony of ants. Although I'm talking about, academic community, but I think we are a community as well, and we can help each other to kind of, if we call ourselves kind of some sort of platform or a channel in which we are really trying to create good quality stuff. We really need your help to be able to do that. And it's mutual, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we appreciate any sort of support. Like I said, we would love to know what you think, any type of feedback on the content, on how we do the channel. We'd welcome that. But as well, like Micky said, if you can help us with, liking, commenting, and then let us get seen. And hopefully this can be something that others can benefit from.
Yeah. All right.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's getting darker and darker here in Glasgow. And we're so conscious of that.
Okay. Is that us?
I think that's us.
That's a wrap, guys.
Yeah, that's a wrap. It was lovely seeing you, everybody here. Thanks very much for joining and listening to us. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a blabber.
Maybe.
But it's, So we'll see you soon again on our channel, and we are going to have regular live sessions, sofa seminars in the future. Wherever you are, I see some other familiar faces now joining on Instagram. We wish you all a wonderful winter break, whatever you do, whether you celebrate it, however you decide to spend it, or it may not be something that you celebrate. If you celebrate any sort of break later on, we wish you all health, happiness, and yeah, see you soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.